Good evening, Fastamai. I'm William King, and this is Time for Brass on Manx Radio. You'd be forgiven for expecting a different voice greeting you to the programme, but never fear. Ian Cottier is joining us, albeit in a slightly different capacity this week. 2019 marks 70 years since a musical institution in the south of the island changed its name from the Serby Silver Band to the Rushen Silver Band, and that anniversary is what we are celebrating this evening on the programme. We'll hear more about the name change, the band's 70 years and the band's 70th year later, but first, here's Rushen Silver Band performing Eric Ball's Star Lake, recorded at the Manx Music Festival. Eric Ball's Star Lake there, performed by Rushen Silver Band at the Manx Music Festival in 2018. Today, Time for Brass is celebrating Rushen Silver Band's 70th anniversary, and in order to do so, I'm joined in the studio by the band's chairman, Tom Sinden, and conductor John Kinley, and a familiar voice, one of the first members of Rushen Silver Band and a current vice president, Ian Cottier, joins us. Tom, John, I want to start with you. How has the band celebrated its 70th anniversary this year?
We had various different things in mind to celebrate the 70th anniversary. We wanted it to be a community year where, rather than going, say, to Blackpool to do the area contest or going away ourselves to do a different contest, we would do community events on the island. So we started the 70th year by recording a CD. We've played at various community events during the year. We played at Groudle Glen Railway.
So what's been the reception?
Phenomenal, really. It's been wonderful. The Fleshick engagement on Good Friday was just astounding. We actually ended up with something, I think about 200 people there watching us, sitting around a little bay on Good Friday watching Rushen Silver Band. We were even being watched by people out on a yacht in the bay. It was just absolutely phenomenal. The band have really enjoyed doing something different, and our regular supporters have enjoyed us doing something different. And to be honest, that was part of the notion behind doing a lot of these things for the 70th anniversary, because we do like to sort of keep things moving forward. We sort of often say, well, we've got to keep moving forward to stand still. If we just do what we've always done, it will get a bit stale.
Thank you very much. You mentioned the community there. One of the activities I've enjoyed most as a band member has been performing in request concerts. On several occasions now, we've surveyed our members and supporters to ask which pieces they enjoy playing or listening to the most. And this piece always seems to come top. It's the main theme from 1492 Conquest of Paradise, performed here by a group who wear the same uniform as Rushen Silver Band, Black Dyke. For this programme, celebrating Rushen Silver Band's 70th anniversary, it seemed only right that we spoke to the only person who was in the band in 1949 and still is today. Jim Krebin, along with his brother John, were members of the band right from its inception. Jim then became musical director and remained in that role until 2009, when John Kinley took over. I went to see Jim and recorded around half an hour of conversation. That interview in full will shortly be available as a podcast. Have you had a favourite event as part of the celebration of the 70th year?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm thinking maybe recording the CD, Fleshwick Beach on Good Friday.
Fleshwick was that. I was on the last picture of the Serby band on the beach. I was on that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're on the picture in 2019 as well.
Yes. It's emotional for an old man, isn't it?
And what about as well as the emotion there, it's certainly myself as a young member of the band on that beach. I think it was a very visual representation of how many people like Rushen Silver Band and are supporters of it, because people had to go out of their way to get to that concert, didn't they?
Well, it was a special day and the weather was
glorious like today.
Yeah, but wasn't an atmosphere there. What summed up the atmosphere to me was one of them was at the end of the service when we played a few Manx pieces, and when we finished, the boat out on the beach, the town always said, "Thank you."
It was lovely.
When I think of things like that, I get emotional.
Jim Krebin, BEM there, the band's conductor emeritus. Ian, you were there on Good Friday supporting the band. What did you make of the event?
Well, I was, yes, indeed, and it took me back to the very early 1950s when it had just become Rushen Silver Band. As I say, I missed it by a year, the actual name change. It was very much a recreation in modern terms of how things used to be, and it was really a very, very fine occasion.
Now, here's something we played on Fleshwick Beach on Good Friday, performed again by Black Dyke, all in the April evening. All in the April evening. Ian, you were one of the earliest members of Rushen Silver Band. Do you have any specific memories from your time in the band, Ian?
One of the things that was really quite central to the band's existence in those days was the fact that people made their own entertainment, and a lot of the band's work was done with local Methodist chapels. What we played was what was known as a sacred concert, and there was a very strong devotional element in the programme. And they were out in the farm areas. Consequently, it was very much a farming community that you were playing for. And farmers' wives had a reputation for producing mountainous food tables. And so you would play the concert, the sacred concert, and then you'd stop and you'd have supper. You were usually asked to play again after supper, which was something of a strain. But one I particularly remember was at Balagary at St Mark's, where it went on and on and on. I think we had about 4 concerts and 4 suppers, and we got home in the very early hours of the morning. And it was absolutely marvellous. But it was really all down to this linking of the band and the people it lived among and played for.
Rushen Silver Band there with John Kinley's arrangement of Eventide. If you don't mind, John, could you tell us about that arrangement?
Yeah, with pleasure. I was very fortunate between 2002 and 2006 to be able to go and study with Richard Evans on the Accrington and Rossendale Brass Band course, where I gained a degree in music. And one of the things I had to do was study arranging, which I'd always had an interest in doing and had done a bit of beforehand. But to actually go and study, and to go and study with a brass band luminary like the great Alan Fernie, was wonderful. So, of course, there were various things we had to do and different styles of music we had to arrange, one of which, of course, would be a hymn. That arrangement came about mainly because it's a favourite of mine as a hymn tune, but actually it was a great favourite of my late father, Captain Brian Kinley. One of the things with it was always that with Dad was that he always liked the last verse, which is "Shine through the gloom and point me to the skies." So hopefully, if you listen very carefully, in the last verse, where it gets very loud and very quiet very quickly, hopefully I've got that in there.
It must be something you enjoy doing.
I do. It's very time consuming. I was very privileged when we went to Lorient to Pulchervanin, commissioned me to arrange 3 pieces, which again have proved very, very successfully and are being played all around the Celtic nations of Britain and beyond.
Well, let's go straight in then and listen to one of those. Here's New Linton performed at the Guild by Rushen Silver Band. The band's 70th anniversary gala concert was this year held at the King's Court Theatre at King William's College. It was held in October, and our musical advisor, Mr. Richard Evans, joined us. Before we were ready to go on stage, I grabbed Mr. Evans for a quick word.
Oh, I think it's around about 13 years that I've been coming, yes.
Have you seen the band change over that time?
Oh, yes. And for the better, I think. Because when Jim and John, of course, have been working together on the band, and John was in my band over in Leyland in the percussion section. And he's a very patient man, and it's been quite quietly and steadily getting better and better. And when I came on Thursday, and I conducted the band for the first time Thursday night, I thought, wow, what a big change in improvement the band is. So they obviously listened to what Jim and John says, and they've obviously listened to what I've said, because they have improved so much. It's a very good band now.
Obviously you do a lot of travelling and you see lots of different bands around the world. Is there anything you see at Rushen Silver Band that makes it stand out?
Well, far more mature. I've watched some of the younger players, you're one of them, develop and develop and develop the right way, because they've been taught by 2 great guys who know what they're doing, and one fellow who comes every year, that's me, and just, all I do is pass on, really, it's my experiences. It's not, I don't know, I haven't a greater knowledge from it, but I'm older.
Just finally, so what do you think is next for Rushen Silver Band?
What's happening now, with John particularly and myself, we talk a lot about it. It's playing tougher music, stretching the band. Don't play music they can play. mean, that's easy. In rehearsals, push yourself harder. The music that John and I will be, don't worry, it'll be coming to you soon because we'll be talking about peace and you'll be, who's picked this piece, you know. It'll be John and myself.
Richard Evans there. John, why do we bring people such as Richard, Alan Fernie, why do we bring them over to the Isle of Man?
It's because of what they can offer both our band and the wider banding community on the island with their experience, their knowledge. Particularly with our band, it sort of opens our minds to new ideas, new suggestions, new techniques, and just generally improves the quality of the band.
Is there more to what happens with Richard? Because I know he's the band's musical advisor. Is there more to what happens with Richard Evans' involvement in the band than what a band member like myself will see once a year when he comes over?
Oh, absolutely. I speak to Richard regularly and update him about what we've been up to, how we've played at things, if we've been to the Guild, how the results gone, what the adjudicator has said. I'll talk to him about repertoire. I'll ask him for suggestions. He's a great mentor, both to me personally and to the band as a whole. It's wonderful to have somebody of his vast experience to rely on to help shape our future and point us in the right direction.
Now, let's listen to one of the pieces we played with Richard Evans this year. Gough Richards' Saddleworth Festival Overture, performed here by Leyland, the then BNFL band, under the baton of Mr. Richard Evans himself. The Saddleworth Festival Overture there. When I spoke to Jim Kreb in BEM, I asked him to select a few pieces for us to play tonight. One of Jim's selections is the Ballafesson March.
Now that was written for me by John Kinley, and it's the Ballafesson March, where we do all our good work, rehearsing and preparing for concerts, and it's our home.
Kinley's Balafesson March there, chosen by Jim Crebin. Let's go back to Jim. So it's the community, isn't it?
Oh, it's a community. That's how the support is community.
And it works both ways, doesn't it? Don't you think? It works both ways, don't you think?
Without a doubt. I'm retired, of course, as you know now. And the friends of the band, there's Betty, there's Margaret Kinley, there's Joyce, the coffee mornings,
Yeah.
the Christmas fairs.
Yeah. So the band is supported by the community, and then the band supports the community.
Absolutely, and nobody's boasting about it. I mean, you blow your own trumpet when you're playing, but yeah, but it's also, in theory, practical.
Jim Crebin there. One of the events that the band took part in this year was that we performed with the Manx Concert Brass at their gala concert in the summer. Also at that concert were Glyn and Helen Williams from the Corey Band. Let's hear Glyn Williams now playing My Grandfather's Clock, accompanied by the Fodens Band. Glyn Williams there with My Grandfather's Clock. Ian, when you look at the present Rushen Silver Band as a vice president, a supporter, a former member, you were at our rehearsal the other night, in fact. What do you think that's made it something that has survived, and not only survived, but remained so healthy for such a long period of time?
It's the community, the bond between the band and the community.
One of the things we chose to do as a band this year to celebrate our 70th anniversary, as was mentioned earlier, was record a CD. But not just any CD, a Christmas CD. How was it decided that the CD to be recorded would be Christmas themed?
This the CD that we have recorded this year will be our third CD. So this time we thought, well, rather than flood the market, as it were, with a third CD that was essentially the same thing, but obviously with different subject matter, we would think, well, what haven't we done? We would record a Christmas CD.
Tom, what would you say, this is a bit of a, just throwing you in the deep end maybe, what would you say was your favourite piece to record on the Christmas CD?
I would say that a couple spring to mind. It's always nice to record some Manx music, and one of the pieces that is on there that has not been recorded before is actually one of John's arrangements, Balladool. But also there's another piece on there I think it's called Christmas Eve in Sarajevo, which is has an amazing story behind it of the troubles in Sarajevo when the war was happening there. One of their musicians, a classical musician, was a cellist, would go out into the middle of one of the squares where the fighting was happening and play Christmas carols to break up the war, as it were. And the arrangement we have of that, I'm not sure whether that's been recorded before or not.
No, I don't think it has, no.
So
John,
really
any other favourites to pick out?
Christmas Eve in Sarajevo was a real highlight, and we were very grateful that we were able to get permission to actually record that.
So let's play out with Christmas Eve in Sarajevo, recorded by Rushen Silver Band this year and available on their new Christmas CD, which is available from various shops in Port Erin and the south of the Isle of Man, as well as via the Rushen Silver Band by contacting them and at their various engagements. Thanks for listening. Evi.